In section 14, we will add and subtract complex numbers. The use of the calculator is not allowed in this section. So first we will look at some simplifying and combining like terms. Each of the following should be written in the form a plus bx. And here are the answers for 1 through 3. In number 1, we can see that we are just combining like terms. We have 2x and 3x that can add to give us 5x. Then if I subtract 1x, that's going to give me 4x. That is supposed to be written second, so I will put that second here. 5 and negative 3 then combine to give me 2, so that goes first. For number 2, as I distribute, I end up getting 3x minus 12 for this part. When I distribute the 2 here, we get 4x plus 10. And now when I go to combine, I'm going to start with the negative 12 and 10 combining to give me negative 2. Then 3x and 4x combine to give me 7x. And then for number 3, I distribute the negative 9 in. That gives me 13 minus 9x plus 36, and then we still have plus 2x. Again, 13 and 36 will combine. That gives me 49, and then negative 9x plus 2x combines to give me negative 7x. We have 2 more examples to look at here, so try those. And here are those answers. In number 4, nothing to distribute here, but we do have some combining like terms. Negative 37 and negative 8 combine to give us negative 45. Then negative 2x, negative 4x, and negative 5x combines to give me negative 11x. For 5, if I distribute the negative 4 in, I get 8x plus 20. If I distribute 3 in, I get 9x plus 21. From there, 20 and 21 add together to give me 41, 8x and 9x combine to give me 17x. Now here we're going to be completing very similar problems. This time we're looking at A plus BI, and we want that to be in that same order. So go ahead and spend a couple minutes working on 1 through 3. And here are those answers. So in number 1, I've got 5 and negative 3 combining to give me 2. Then I've got 2i plus 3i minus I, which is going to give me 4i. For 2, we distribute. We get 3i minus 12. Then we get 4i plus 10. Negative 12 plus 10 gives me negative 2. And then I've got 3i and 4i, which gives me 7i. For 3, we have 13 and 36 combining to give us 49, and then negative 9i and positive 2i combining to give us negative 7i. Try 4 and 5. And here are those answers. So in 4b, we are combining negative 37 and negative 38 to give us negative 45. Negative 2i, negative 4i, and negative 5i combine to give us negative 11i. For 5, we're distributing the negative 4 in, then we're distributing the 3 in. We get 8i plus 20 plus 9i plus 21, and now we combine like terms. 20 and 21 combine to give us 41, 8i and 9i combine to give us 17i. So we can see that when we're rewriting these, it's very similar to things that we've always done in the past. We're just distributing and combining like terms. And now we're going to continue to do some simplifying. Here you're going to notice that some of the degrees for I are higher than 1, so those do need to be changed before we can simplify this completely. And then also we're going to classify our numbers as being real, imaginary, or complex. So take a few minutes to simplify 12 through 14, and then we will check answers. And here are those answers. So in number 12, we are taking I squared, and we know that I squared is going to turn into a negative 1. So this is negative 4 times negative 1, which makes that a positive 4. We also need to distribute this negative 2 in, so that portion becomes negative 10 minus 4i. Now we can simplify and combine like terms like we did in the last few problems. We have 4 plus 7 minus 10, and that is going to combine to give us 1. Then I have 3i and negative 4i, which will combine to give me negative I. Because I have a real part and an imaginary part, this is considered complex. For 13, I to the third is going to turn into a negative I. So 3 times negative I makes this negative 3i. I squared turns into a negative 1. So 4 times negative 1 gives us negative 4. 7i stays 7i. And then here I've got negative 3 times I to the fourth will be a 1. So that's going to give me negative 3. And then this is going to be I to the 6th is the same thing as I to the fourth times I squared. The I to the fourth part cancels to become 1. The I squared part becomes a negative 1. So 8 times negative 1 gives us negative 8. Now we simplify and combine like terms. Negative 4, negative 3, and negative 8 will combine to give me negative 15. Then negative 3i plus 7i will combine to give me 4i. And again, because I have a real part and an imaginary part, it's considered complex. For 14, I'm going to distribute 12i to all three. 12i times 3i is going to give me 36i squared. I squared changes into a negative 1 though, so that is going to become negative 36. Then if I'm multiplying 12i times 7i squared, I'm going to get 84i to the third. Once again though, I to the third is going to change into a negative I, which makes this negative 84i. Then 12i times negative 5i to the third is going to give us negative 60i to the fourth. I to the fourth is going to either cancel or you can think of it as turning into a 1. Either way, that should give me negative 60, and then I still have this minus 8. And now we're combining. Negative 36, negative 60, and negative 8 will all combine to give me negative 104. Then I still have that negative 84i with nothing to combine with, and so we leave that as negative 84i. From here, again, I have a real part and an imaginary part, therefore this is considered complex. Now try 15 through 17. And here are those answers. So in 15, we see negative 15, we can leave alone. 5 times I to the fourth means 5 times 1, which is 5. Here, I to the 8th is going to cancel, or we can think of that as I to the fourth times I to the fourth, which means it's 1 times 1, so just a 1 right here. Then negative 7 times 1 is going to make that negative 7. Same thing kind of happens here. I to the 12th. Since 12 is divisible perfectly by 4, we can just cancel that and make that just a 9, or you can think of that as I to the fourth times I to the fourth times I to the fourth, which would be 1 times 1 times 1. Either way, that should just be a 9. From here, I can combine everything to give me negative 8, and because I don't have anything imaginary here, this is considered a real number. For 16, I'm going to start with simplifying the inside here. This I squared right here is going to turn into a negative 1. So that makes this part right here a positive 8. So now as I distribute the 3 in, 3 times 4i is going to give me 12i. 3 times positive 8 gives me 24. Same thing over here. This I squared is going to make this a negative 1. And then 8 times negative 1 is negative 8. Now you could distribute the negative 4 at this point, and that's what the work shows right here. Or because I have a negative 8 here and a positive 11 here, I could start by combining those two to give me a positive 3, and then just distributing the negative 4 to 3 plus 17i. Either way is fine. The work here shows negative 4 times negative 8, giving me positive 32. Then negative 4 times 17i, giving me negative 68i. And then negative 4 times positive 11, giving me negative 44. Once again, we combine like terms. So 24 plus 32 minus 44 is going to give me 12. Then if I have 12i and negative 68i, those combine to give me negative 56i. And because I have a real part and imaginary part, it's complex. And then for 17, I to the 7th is the same thing as I to the 4th times I to the 3rd. Again, I to the 4th we can cancel or think of that as a 1. So I'm really looking at 3i to the 3rd here. The I to the 3rd changes into a negative I. The I to the 3rd changes into a negative I. So I've got 3 times negative I, which makes this negative 3i. Over here, I can take a total of 8 out of 10. Thinking of this as I to the 8th times I to the 2nd. The I to the 8th part is going to change into a 1 or cancel. I squared is going to make that a negative 1. So 2 times negative 1 makes this a negative 2. Then I keep the positive 5. And then I to the 12th, once again, that's perfectly divisible by 4. So I'm going to cancel that and keep this as negative 6. From here, when I combine negative 2 plus 5 minus 6, those all combine to give me negative 3. The negative 3i had nothing to combine with, so I leave that. And again, because I have a real part and an imaginary part, that's considered complex. So at this point, go ahead and complete the exit slip for today's lesson, and your homework is going to be in practice set 14.